The other week, I was trying to train a window cleaner. He got in contact with me and he said, I'm having difficulties with the squeegee work. And he's been doing it for a good 20 plus years. So he had full of bad habits, okay? And most window cleaners around the world are full of bad habits. And he had a problem. He was too heavy with his washer, but these are just all refinement stuff. He had a problem getting down in the corners. So he will start off up here very well, and then he'll just miss the corners, right? Basically do this. You got a massive gap of residue, another massive gap of residue here. He physically could not put the squeegee down here. Now, can you blame him? Have you seen the people on YouTube, how they work with their squeegees? They might not be as bad as that, but they are definitely no inspiration to learn and improve on. So we were going through like 20 minutes. I said, start here and come down here and come all the way down here. He physically couldn't come down here, okay? So I said, okay, let's stop what we're doing, right? And we're gonna go use a pole. He says, yeah, but I can't use poles. I said, don't worry, you listen to me, you'll be able to use a pole. Okay, so what we did was we stopped doing the handwork and we started to work with a pole. And we were basically working on this window here, something that's wider than it is high, right? And I said, all you got to do is start here and go all the way down here. Can you do that? And he did it. I said, think of a number 7. Then think of a reverse from number 7. Just do that. That's all you got to do. Can you do that? And without too much hassle, he was able to do that. And I said, now all we got to do is fill the middle bit in here and just turn the bottom hand and keep your pressure on your pole here, and you've now got the window cleaned much better than you was when you were using a squeegee in the hand. So after we went through the 7s and the reverse 7s, right, I said, now what we want to do is do it all in one go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into that bottom corner, right, go down all the way down here and come out and then focus over here and do exactly the same, and then we'll just do the whole lot in one motion. And do you know what, he was able, after about 6, 7, 8 minutes, okay, he was able to do that. And I said, okay, let's go back to using a squeegee, and let's not bang the sides here, but let's now get this squeegee to do exactly the same motion as it was with the pole. And you know what? He was able to do it. But I couldn't physically teach him to do it just by doing it with the handwork. I had to take him away from the handwork, use a pole, do it on the pole several times. We're talking 20, 30 times. And then get that set in your mindset, and then go back to your squeegee handwork. And then what could he do? He could go down into the corners, because his bad habit of not going into the corners, bottom corners, was starting to erode, disappear, because I put him on a new way of thinking and acting, and just forget your bad habits. Now, there's plenty more bad habits that are associated with window cleaning techniques. This is just a real basic, substandard type of worker that just physically couldn't go down here. So I thought that would be interesting to mention in this video, because, you know, for a lot of people, they think, well, this is ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous. This is window cleaning. This is how people are in the field. Right, so let's go back on to talking about the pole. Now, hot weather, number 1. which is causing difficulty. Number two, let's say the window is quite sticky. So we got it in an angle, right? And the normal angle we tend to be working in, whatever that will be, let's say in a normal stance will be 25 degree, and I'm lower. Window is not the right height to work from, but most people would be working in a 25 degree. But if you got this squeaking and this gripping and this directional change mark, right, this could be a number of reasons. Could be where you are, your position, your angle, or the glass is not a nice smooth pane of glass to work on, or your solution isn't the best solution to work with. So if you're getting grippy, biting, directional change marks and skipping, that sort of thing, what you need to do is relax the angle, right? So whatever angle you're working in, and it normally works, but you've gone onto a window where it's now not working, but everything like seems to be, well, I would always do this in 25 degree, or I'd always do this in 10 degree. There's not always and always, right? So you have to evolve and you have to adapt, and you just basically have to be better than everybody else in working with a squeegee. Don't worry, that isn't hard, right? It isn't hard to be better than everybody else using a squeegee. So what I've done now is I've changed my angle. It's pretty much drying out very quickly here, but I've now got my angle situated so it's now nice and smooth to work with because I've changed my angle. Now we're on a sort of a low window here, but a 10 degree on this window, you know, I'm going to get some biting issues down here. So what I've done is relax the angle so it's nice and smooth up here and it's nice and smooth down here. Whereas a lot of people, they get to around about here and it starts to bite, starts to grip. That's because most likely you're in the wrong angle where you are from the glass, or the angle, or the window's pushed back a little bit further than what you imagine it should be in a 25 or a 10 or 40, whatever you're used to working. Generally speaking, it should be a 25 for most cases. Let's say the 25 isn't working, so just relax down to a 10 and then try it again. And then you think, well, why didn't I not think about that before? Because this 10 or this -5 is now working so much easier. I'm not fighting with the window anymore. But that's not always the case, because when you go to do the other jobs, generally speaking, the 25 will generally be working more often than not. Just some particular windows, they're not what you expect to be dealing with, and you're just getting problems after problems, and just relaxing the angle. Now there's just one problem when it comes to relaxing the angle, and you're closing out. Sometimes that will be an issue, because if you're used to closing out on a 25 and now you're in a 10 or you're in a -5, sometimes that will be a cause of a problem. You'll never be able to, on some windows, close out properly. You're just missing about a centimetre closing out. So what I'd advise you to do, if you do get these problems when you've made everything now smooth when you're working on the glass, but you just got a problem closing out, what you need to do really is take it over to the side. So in exceptional circumstances, when you can't really close out, closing out to the side is the second best option, but at least you'll find you'll be able to pretty much fully close out, because this angle here is not allowing you to close out, but you can still manage to close out to the side. So that is called exception to the rule. Most of the time you want to be closing out on the bottom, and every single time you want to not be working like everybody else.